Good afternoon. We will present you our paper entitled Interoperability and Discursive Process about Categories. I am Orélie Desfriches-Doria.
I am Josquin Debaz.
So, as an introduction, we will present a few views about digital humanities. First, digital humanities practice transcend traditional disciplinary boundaries. Digital humanities imply corpora, text, sentences, words aggregation, digital tools, communities, and debates. The focus of our paper is about the conditions of the production of transversal longitudinal tools capable of taking into account the diversity of meaning carried out by text, sentences, or other aggregation of words, supporting the dialogue processes of communities for the conception of evolving uses of ontological dictionaries. Digital humanist activities consist in describing, qualifying, evaluating, scoring, classifying, and processing textual data for iterative interpretation of the meaning of text through read-writing processes. In practice, it involves debating in small communities of researchers about successive interpretations according to varying boundaries conceptions of context. These interpretations process result in applying sets of metadata or annotations in the substance of text most of the time. We will give you now an overview of Prospero software.
It's an old software created in the early 90s, especially for a community of users studying controversies around science topics, health, environment, with a sociological point of view. It assists studies of long-run controversies through qualitative and quantitative analysis of textual corpora. By handling large and evolving corpora, it processes textual data semi-automatically, but a large part of the process depends on the user's intentions, by input-output feedback iterative loops to conceive, test, and validate or invalidate hypotheses. The focus is put on historicization of the evolving analysis. For some years now, there has been a demand for enhance the possibility of multilingualism in the software. It has been born in the French community and extend to English, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, and other languages. But the need is not totally fulfilled. What are Prospero and digital humanist practices convergences? First, they both deal with corpora studies. Of course, a strong interpretation process is involved. There are often using semi-automatic processing of textual data. But digital tools are mainly assisting the researcher, and a large part of the interpretation depends on its intentions. And qualitative and quantitative analysis of textual corpora are based on the process of counting and linking syntactic and semantic forms. And as we already stand, there is an importance of debates among communities and inside the communities themselves. The reflexive and qualitative and time-consuming processes are found in both communities. But there are also differences. For instance, the substance of text will stay virgin in Prospero, with the need to maintain access to the original discourses is very significant for controversies analysis. There are a mix of automatic detection and user-made dictionaries or taxonomies in Prospero. And if Prospero mainly focus on narrative and argumentative process in discourse, digital humanists are giving the floor to a larger plurality of dimension.
So, what is the strength of the debates in digital humanist activities? We consider that debates processes about categories among digital humanist activities require support of tools and documents for collective activities. They are useful because they reveal epistemic communities' evolution. Debates enable reflexive attitudes towards the knowledge produced during these debates and analysis, and they support the constitution of communities. So, in Prospero community, the collective elaboration of categories and taxonomy corresponds to the construction of the part of the analysis tool and is part of the debates at hand in this community.
In Prospero, taxonomy characteristics are that they are collectively developed. They so carried out negotiation of dimension of description and analysis of corpora within several collectives that depends on the structuring process, tools, and documents for this collective elaboration to remain reflexive. They also stand as empirical constructions. These list of terms relative to a conceptual category are empirically dependent on the corpus at hand. They remain specifically relevant to the creator's community. They are embed the collective point of view, and they are iteratively reviewed. Epistemic communities in this context do not aim at producing a stable, closed version of the taxonomy. They rather iteratively discuss and debate about the evolving terms to include or to exclude as a part of the definition process of analysis instruments.
There are two paradigms to consider to address the question of supporting the dialogue processes between different communities about these evolving semiotic ontologies or taxonomies in polysemic text and lexical entities analysis. The first one is the vocabulary alignment paradigm, and the second one is the socio-anthropological usage of language paradigm. In the vocabulary alignment paradigm, we can consider that this alignment paradigm is based on this concentrated technological environment, standardized format, and users' agreement about the underlying models related to the semantic web. In short terms, we could say that it's a question of semantic interoperability, which is the ability to exchange service and data with the correct interpretation. Digital humanities knowledge implies debates about interpretation of text fragments and words aggregations. This ambiguization of meaning is coherent with these technologies for the semantic web. And as a stable interpretation of data is provided, the semantic technologies can support its disseminations. If digital humanities is about iterative reinterpretations of set of text and fragments, the following questions can raise. To what extent could these technologies, the semantic technologies, semantic web technologies as ontologies, can handle conflicting interpretations about textual objects? How could these technologies support historicization of the successive interpretations to be able to draw agreement and disagreement maps for a given time period, and how to make this data and their conflicting interpretation available to enable the production of a historical reflexive discourse about the digital humanities knowledge. The socio-anthropological usage of language paradigm is based on few theoretical foundations. The first one is a pragmatical sociology, especially the work of Francis Chateaurenaud, a polyphonic theory of language from Pierre-Yves Racah, which says that a statement is an occurrence of a sentence in a situation by a speaker, and the relational view, the relational sociology, which implies that using some terms in discourses makes visible some social distinction or communities affiliations. Some terms in discourse can be considered as social indicators in relation with social norms, or either as differentiation signs. This paradigm implies debates within epistemic communities for the construction of semiotic ontologies or taxonomies about the context of occurrence of terms for defining the preferred associated meaning. The real object of interest beyond this tangible version of the dialogues is that it reveals the evolutionary trajectories of the epistemic communities which are deformed during the debates.
So to historicize conflicts, this paper propose some exploratory guidelines. The aim is to extend the existing dictionaries and language processing rules to enhance already prepared language and to extend it to new languages. The main difficulty arose not for simple dictionary, syntactic dictionary, but for some special dictionary which are dealing with discourse regimes and are very specific to a linguistic area and represent hybrid ontologies. So we want to produce a platform from which research groups can come and pick up dictionaries, but also refine them collectively while keeping track of the changes, but also of the arguments that motivated those changes. And this platform must be accountable for the processes of convergence, dissensions, and parentage in discussions on the attribution of meaning and uses. Then can be individual or collective. The tool must deal with synchronous and asynchronous process, and again it will put the focus on historicity, and of course it must be able to connect with existing semiological definition resources. It will also be able to help the communities by recommendation with several mechanisms. It will propose the inclusion of a term in an existing ontology, or, on the other hand, help to refine the categories by completion or deletion from the dictionaries. It will incorporate tools that can search for the analogous and tools that can search for the structure analogies. A second enhancement will occur with the possibility of evaluation of dictionaries. By a collective production of a constellation of corpora, it will be possible to test dictionaries in different discourse contexts. And it will also evaluate the quality of the association between dictionaries and corpora, and will give metrics for measuring the sensitivity and specificity of a taxonomy. This platform allows the collective enrichment of taxonomy as an interdisciplinary process of conflicting points of view, and that might be improved by this digital tool with a recommendation algorithm, methods, and digital archive to document the emergence and evolutions of the communities at work. But it will also be helpful for online debate tools and methods in the context of democratic elaboration of decisions. And maybe in a second time, it will allow for the development of new metrics for geometry of those categories.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Questions?